Results in the Tory leadership election left Westminster in a bit of shock yesterday, and I'll just show you what's happened. So basically, James Cleverly was the front runner, and he's been knocked out, right? So we're going to ask this question. There he is there, and we have to ask the very simple question, which is, why did Cleverly get biffed? So we have to try and think our way into the Tory party here. So there are the three candidates as they were at the start of the week. Cleverly, very much the leader. Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch, the two on the right. He was the one saying the Conservative Party should be more normal. How did Cleverly go from first place to third? That's what we're trying to work out. And here's the Tory MPs, OK, known as the most sophisticated electorate in the world. 121 of them. Don't count Rishi Sunak, so 120. So let's look at an example. Tory MP thinking here, right? Now, this Tory MP, fictional person, but let's just imagine we're looking into their mind. They're a Badenoch supporter. It's Monday. She wants Jenrick out because Jenrick's the biggest competition for Badenoch. So she's going to lend her vote to Cleverly to make it Badenoch Cleverly. So that's what she's going to do, being very clever about it. We then go, so Cleverly at that point suddenly comes first. So now we turn to another Tory MP, fictional MP, who is a Cleverly supporter. So here is the different Tory MP, supporter of James Cleverly. He sees Tuesday's vote. He thinks James Cleverly, my man, will definitely be in the final two. So he lends his vote to Jenrick to block Badenoch. So without realising, suddenly Cleverly's been inflated into first place, and now even his own supporters haven't backed him because they've moved elsewhere for tactical reasons. And the background to all of this is a very, very simple thought. Tory MPs are desperate to avoid this.
We import 2/3 of our cheese. That is a disgrace.
So poor old Jeffrey Archer's here. Poor old James Cleverly.
Yes, I would have, if I'd been in the lower house rather than the upper house, I would have voted for James Cleverly, a thoroughly decent man.
Was the mistake that he made saying he wanted his party to be normal?
No. The mistake was made...
The MPs thought, well, we don't like the sound of that.
No. The mistake was I had lunch yesterday with a former cabinet minister before the vote. That's the relevant thing. And he said, he told me who he was going to vote for, and he said, but I fear there are one or two of our colleagues up to tricks.
Do you think my reading of it
before the vote?
So this is all about these people lending their vote to try to influence it.
Yes.
It can go wrong, that, can't it?
Yes, and if many people understood your description, I'd be impressed, because it's so complicated. It's so complicated, and none of us know what actually happened. My bet is, look at the voting carefully. If two people had switched their vote, Cleverly would be in the final.
Yep.
And I'm bound to say, after he came storming into the lead, I assumed he'd be in the final, and I was just as shocked as anyone else.
Yeah, well, when you say it's difficult to understand, the precedent I remember was in the 70s, funny enough, where Thatcher, you'll remember this, you two particularly, Thatcher challenged Edward Heath. And the person, I think, doing her campaign was Ery Neve, right?
Great man.
And he went around, Ery Neve, saying, look, Thatcher hasn't got a chance of winning, but we just want to give Ted Heath a shock. And as a result, some of Ted Heath's supporters voted for Thatcher, and then she stormed it. And maybe that's what went on here.
Well,
no?
I'll tell you another story about that. She got 5 more letters of congratulations from people who voted for her than actual votes she got.
Right.
She told me that.
OK. But they are...
So this game has been
But, I mean,
going
Jonathan can be laughing his head off here, because we call the Tory MPs the most sophisticated electorate in the world. I don't think even they know what they're doing.
Well, look, I know Westminster's about to start debating assisted dying, but, I mean, this is taking the biscuit. Look, I'll have a bet with you. I'll bet you 10 bob, Jeremy.
10 bob?
10 bob.
10 bob?
That neither...
Go on, let's hear
He's a
the
modern Labour.
Hang on, Jeffrey, hang on.
10 bob.
Hang on.
I bet you that neither Jenrick or Badenoch will be the Tory leader at the next general election.
Oh,
I'll bet you that.
Because
Said it
they're
here
so
first.
savage. Well, and you know, as a former Tory, they're so savage.
Well, they're not only savage, they're stupid.
Oh?
You know, I mean, that mess that you've just described I may say I had great difficulty following it. But that
thank you for
that mess which you just described
Impossible.
is because they try to be too clever.
Yeah.
Now, I voted in umpteen Tory leadership elections. I always voted for the person I wanted.
Yes.
It was as straightforward as that.
Yes, but
if I wanted X, I voted X.
hang on. If you're a cleverly supporter and you think cleverly, remember the members are different. The members are different from the MPs, and the members get the final say. And you think to yourself, I want Cleverly to win, but I know that Jenrick will lose to him, but Badenoch will beat him. You therefore want it to be Cleverly Jenrick in the final two. So you might lend your vote to Jenrick, right?
Not if you're sensible. If you're sensible, you say, I'm not going to risk anything. I'm going to vote for the person I want.
I really believe
But
in.
Yes, I've
quite
always
right.
done that.
Okay,
always.
so the situation now for the Tories is this. The two right-wing candidates, the ones who didn't use the word normal, are now in the final. We know how the members work. They simply look at the final two and vote for the one who most reminds them of Margaret Thatcher. That's basically what they do, right? So, Geoffrey, your party's heading to the right.
Well, you're quite
No
right.
doubt about it.
Both candidates are strong right-wingers, which is another reason I would have voted for James. And it's going to be a very interesting election. I've now given up. I now have absolutely no idea who will win.
Oh, I tell you, she's going to win. The Kemi Badenoch.
There you are. You're making a statement.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, I bet you 50p, not 10 bob, that Jenrick wins.
Okay, well, let's see. Well, okay, so we've got
Another 10 bob go. You'll never live that down.
But don't rule out your guy. He could be back as the Tory leader in time for the next general election.
Yes, that's interesting. And also, he's clearly can feel quite hard done by because this supposedly sophisticated electorate have just messed it all up.
Votes.
Well, I know, because there aren't very many of them. That's the other thing, because there's only 120. Because the 121st is Rishi Sunak, and he's not voting. And hang on, Kathleen in the West Midlands. Kathleen.
Hello, everybody.
You've managed to interrupt Jeffrey Archer, which is you get an award for that.
Yeah.
Good morning. I personally am going for Kemi Badenoch, the woman. She comes across as straightforward. She comes across very fresh, and I think she would be very good for the party. And I think that she should be given a chance. Yes, I know when she first did her first little speech, she did make a little bit of a gap, but who doesn't?
What, when she called for the end of maternity benefit?
Yes, and I think who doesn't do that? I mean, all politicians.
Well, it's difficult to do it by accident, but I mean,
Yes,
she didn't quite say that.
Well, listen, I heard the interview.
yes.
She said more than that. She really was explicit about it. But so are you a Tory member, Kathleen?
I like her, and also she will be the first black woman as well to head.
Yep.
Oh, but
It doesn't matter.
Is it Kathleen?
Kathleen,
No,
Kathleen.
Hang on, Jeffrey wants to speak.
Not at all.
Kathleen.
Not at all.
Hang on, Kathleen.
Kathleen, do not forget, it was the Conservative Party who produced the first Jewish Prime Minister, the first Bachelor Prime Minister, the first three women Prime Ministers, the first Indian Prime Minister.
And Liz Truss.
And you still have a middle-of-the-road white man as Prime Minister.
That's a very, very fair point. That's a very fair point.
I do wonder why Labour hasn't managed to do any of those, Jonathan.
I mean, it's a really, really fair point, and it's not as if Labour hasn't had greatly talented women. Lots of Labour Party people at the time thought Barbara Castle would become the first woman Prime Minister, and the Conservatives beat Labour to... Labour's not even got there with a woman Prime Minister. Shirley Williams was another great woman.
Yes, Shirley Williams.
And we've got very strong women today, Rachel Reeves, Angela Rayner. So hopefully one day we will have a woman leader.
All right, we will take some calls after the break. Can anyone...
Yeah, Jim, I think you should consider doing a bit more overtime to pay for all these bets.
The what? Sorry, I missed the beginning of that. The overtime?
I think you should be doing a bit of overtime to pay for all these bets you're taking.
Oh, yes, you're so... Because I've got the 5 bob with Jonathan. I've got... Well, Anne was only 50p, wasn't it?
That's 5 bob, isn't it?
Oh, that's 5 bob. But I think Badenoch's going to win. What do you think, Raymond?
10 bob.
10 bob?
It's half a pound. Surely you know what half a pound
What do you want to say, Raymond? You've got to get in with these three. Go on, Raymond.
I can't stop laughing. I think they've once again shot themselves in the foot. I mean, they're so used to lying. I mean, Badenoch's already lied about the maternity. She hasn't even got in power yet. I mean, they're a joke.
Well, do you think, here's the serious question, they're going to go to the right now because Cleverly was the centrist. Jeffrey's a centrist in his party.
Yeah.
So by going to the right, they get towards Anne's party, Reform, the Farage lot. Will that help them get Reform votes?
They can forget about getting into power for at least another 10 or 12 years, if that's the case.
Oh, so you don't think it helps to go right?
I think you'll see a rise in the Liberals myself.
OK, well, we've already seen, what are they, 70 MPs or something? It's amazing.
Well, 74
They've
MPs.
got fewer votes than Reform.
Yes,
74.
you got 4.1.
Yeah.
Liberals got 3.9.
Yeah, got fewer
They
votes
got
than us.
5 seats. You
And
got 5 seats. They got
71.
Right. OK, thanks, Raymond. Jonathan is trying not to laugh here, aren't you? Because
Well,
this is...
he's-
Which candidate do you want?
Look, I mean, well, I think Jenrick's a bit weird, and to use that glorious phrase that you used to kebab a previous Tory leadership contender, I do think he's got something of the night about him, as it happens. I think Badenoch is a...
Don't want to.
she makes these mistakes like over maternity. And look, I've made mistakes in TV interviews. I've loads of times, and I've had Twitter going balmy bonkers at me. So I get it when you sometimes slip up in a TV interview. But I think it did reveal something about her actual views, which is worrying.
Well, she likes culture wars, doesn't she?
On saying all of that, the serious point is this. Labour did win an election, we all know that. People were fed up with the Tories, but I still think the next general election is all to play for. It is competitive.
Well,
I think Labour's got a big victory, but it's quite shallow.
Yeah.
So Labour cannot be complacent. Labour's got to deliver on the economy and the NHS.
Well, yeah.
So there is a chance if the Tories get it right, but I don't think they're getting it right.
OK,
with these two
that's so
candidates.
interesting, because we've had so many calls who are so angry about the freebies and the winter fuel, and they're so furious. So
Well, I agree. Fascinating you say that, because, of course, it was a soft win in the sense it was 33.9%.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Tony Blair win.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I've noted in the last few days and been reminded of is that Tony Blair led his party at 49% personal popularity.
Yes. Yeah.
For 2 years, he was 49.
Oh, he had a honeymoon.
You've already got your leader at minus 16.
minus 11,
Yeah. The next election
it's true.
a
I do
fight.
remember the Labour honeymoon, leaving out...
Honeymoon? It was a day tour.
No, but the Blair honeymoon lasted for years.
Oh, yes.
Sue in Essex, hi, what do you want to say, Sue?
I like the idea of Joe Jenrick. I think he should be on, the head of the Conservatives.
OK, that one, yeah. But he did... Does it matter? Look, I'm going to
you
throw
mean the
something in
Labour
here I
honeymoon?
shouldn't do. He said he in order to get ready for the contest, he went on Ozempic. Is that a problem?
Why should it be?
I'm not sure about that. I didn't watch it.
No,
I'm sorry.
I think it
Why
was
should it be a
private. But
problem?
well, I just
He
think
went to slimming.
take a slimming drug to get to win a party leadership contest. Seems odd.
Oh, well, that's up to them. That's personal.
Lots of people
Well, he talked
lose
about
weight when they're
OK, all right. Thanks. So you think Jenrick is the man?
He's got his military head on, and I think at the moment this is what the world needs. We need
Right.
somebody who's pretty clued up.
Who's
with
been in the army?
military.
Yep.
Yeah, I really do believe that. I think a military person, be it female or male, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have a good idea and a good consensus
OK, Sue,
of
thank
how
you.
our strategy should be in the status.
I hear you loud and clear. I'm wondering if we've got Tugendhat confused here, because I think Tugendhat was in the army. Was Jenrick in the army as well?
Tugendhat was in the army, and I'm rather hoping he'll be Shadow Secretary of State for Defence.
But I don't think Jenrick has been anywhere near the army.
No.
Ian in North Ayrshire, do you think the Tories have shot themselves in the belugas?
Yes, certainly. The difficulty they have at the moment, they've got two candidates. Jenrick talks a good game, but all he said he should have done in the 14 years he was a minister. He's not worth a lot. He's not worth a lot. The lady is a bit rougher. She makes a few mistakes, but I think she's more credible. But what they're really looking for is a leader that hasn't been born yet.
Well, you're right in this. I remember William Hague said it was the night shift, that first, when you're in opposition and your leader, and it's just awful.
Against a huge majority.
You can't get arrested, as the saying goes, you know. So then you think about it, was Cameron in 2010, and how old was Cameron in 1997? I think he'd been born. But my goodness, it could be a long old slog, this.
Well, the point he's making is a very fair one, but traditionally it's 10 years. If you win a majority that large, you will get 10 or 12 years.
Well, that's what they said
and
about
the British
Boris.
public get bored with you.
Tradition has
so
gone.
it won't be a lifetime.
That's what they said about Boris. And, that didn't... people assume, and I can remember, in 92, when we won against all the odds, senior people in the House of Commons who should have known better, seriously saying, Labour will never win again if they
No, listen.
they did.
Okay, we're going to move on. Jeffrey, we thank you very much for coming in. Later.